Alright guys, let's get studying for our CBA on Thursday. So I know we've gone over this in class, but in case you need some extra practice, it's a great idea to go over it some more. So unit rate is, like we've discussed before, it is going to be a proportion. Pretty much every problem you need to set up a proportion. So on unit rate, you're going to want to pay attention to your different types of units. So in this problem we have miles and we have hours. And so then you're going to write the miles and hours that are listed in the problem in the first ratio. And then in the second one you're going to have X and 1. So a lot of the times we're looking for how many miles in 1 hour. So that would be X and 1. So unit rate, you're going to have a 1 versus 100. So on this problem, Monica traveled 176 miles in 3 hours and 12 minutes. If she traveled at a constant rate, what was her speed in miles per hour? So constant rate in miles per hour are what are telling us that this is a unit rate problem. So let's set up our proportion. So she traveled 176 miles. We're going to do miles over hours. You just have to be consistent. So 176 miles in 3 hours and 12 minutes. So I know if I'm trying to turn 12 minutes into a fraction of an hour, I'm going to put 12 over 60. I can divide them both by 6 and I get 2 over 10 or 1 over 5. So I know 1/5 is 0.2, so 3.2. I'm looking for how many miles, so that's going to be my X, per hour, means 1 hour. So then we're going to go ahead and do our cross product. So 176 times 1, so that equals 176, equals 3.2x. So then you go ahead and divide by the number next to x, so that's going to be 3.2. 176 divided by 3.2. So I'm going to put 176 inside, 3.2 outside. So I have a decimal outside. I need to move it one place to make that a whole number. I need to move it the same number of places on the inside and move it up. So 32 goes into 176. Let's see. Let me look at the 3 and the 17. How many times does 3 go into 17? 5 times. So let me use that to see if that's right. 32 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 1 is 16. So 160. I'm going to go ahead and put my 5 up top. Subtract. 6 minus 0 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. Pull down my 0, so 160. So again, it's 5. So her rate was 55 miles per hour. So X is 55 miles per hour. So that's how you do unit rate problems. Make sure you focus on your X and your 1. So now, alright, now we're going to go on to measurement conversion. So we already talked about in class doing your Fahrenheit. So they'll give you that equation. So 9 over 5c plus 32. So you'll just do 9 over 5 and know that that's 1.8. So we also do a lot of conversions with different types of measurements. So one common is miles and kilometers. So again, you always want to write your word ratio. So let's say we're doing miles and kilometers. You're going to write your given information here. So that's going to be your given miles and your given kilometers equals, and then it just kind of depends. Do they give you miles in the problem, or do they give you kilometers in the problem? So let's just say they give us kilometers. We'll say we're looking for 1 kilometer with a certain number of miles. So for you to get a better idea, let's look at this example. Alex ran 5 miles yesterday. If 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers, how many kilometers did he run? So miles over kilometers, and does it matter which one's on top? That's right, no, as long as you're consistent. So let's look at the ratio they gave us. 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. So I see miles is on top, so I'm going to put 1 mile and 1.6 kilometers. They give us 5 miles, so I'm going to put a 5 on top, and I'm looking for the number of kilometers. So my x goes there. Go ahead and do your cross product. So 1 times x, so x equals 5 times 1.6. So 1.6 times 5, 5 times 6 is 30. 1 times 5 is 5, plus 3 is 8. There's 1 number to the decimal up top, so 1 number to the decimal down here. So x is equal to 8, so 8 kilometers. Alright, so we should have a good understanding of that. So we'll go ahead and move on. Alright, so next is going to be percent. So percent proportion you're going to use is over of, or we did talk about part, over whole, equals percent over 100. So with percent, a lot of the percent problems are going to be where you're doing a tax or discount or something like that. So if you do a discount, think about going to the store and buying something on sale. You're saving that money, so you're going to be subtracting a discount. This also has an S in it, so the S tells you subtract. Tax is another common percent we do, and the T represents plus. I had someone tell me that A means add. However you want to remember it, you have to add the tax. So you know that it's a percent problem if it gives you a percent or asks for a percent. So for example, John wants to buy a sweatshirt excuse me, that costs $16.28. If the tax is 8%, how much money would he need to buy this sweatshirt? So again, we're going to set up our proportion. So basically this question is asking, what is 8% of 1628? So I know you guys are great at this, knowing 8 and 100. And then we are looking for 8% of 1628, so that's going to be the of on the bottom. So 1628, x will go on top. Now we're going to do our cross product. So 100 x equals, and then let's see, 1628 times 8. 8 times 8 is 64. 2 times 8 is 16. Plus 6 is going to be 22. 6 times 8 is 48. Plus 2 is 50. 1 times 8 is 8. Plus 5 is 13. And then there's 2 numbers to the right of the decimal in the multiplication problem, so we need to put 2 numbers to the right there. So it's 130.24. Then we go ahead and divide by the number next to x. So x is going to equal, because if you divide by 100, you move your decimal 2 places to the left. So 1, 2, so it's 1.30, we'll say. So they're asking how much he needs to buy it. If we look up here, it says tax is adding. So you're going to take your $16.28 and you're going to go ahead and add the $1.30. Make sure you line up your decimals because we're adding decimals. So 8 plus 0 is 8, 2 plus 3 is 5, put my decimal, 6 plus 1 is 7, and 1, so 1758. Alright, so percent of change. The problem will say increase, percent increase, or percent decrease. So, or one problem on the quiz last week said reduced by. So if you have a percent of change, it's going to be change over original equals percent over 100. And to find change, change is always the big number minus the small number. So let's take a look at this example. Last year, 80 students signed up for a summer trip to Washington, D.C. This summer, 50 students have signed up to go. What's the percent decrease in the number of students? So change, we're looking at 80 and 50. So 80 minus 50 is 30. Over original, the first number is 80 last year, equals, we're looking for the percent decrease. So x over 100. So if you do your cross product, 80x equals 3,000. We're going to divide by 80. Divide by 80. So we need to do 3,000 divided by 80. So 8 goes into 30 probably 3 times, so 80 times 3, 0, 240. So 240. So that difference is going to be 60, so 600. 8 goes into 67 times. $560. So 7, and then difference is 40, so 400, so it's going to be 5, because 8 times 5 is 40, so 80 times 5 is 400, so x is going to be equal to 37.5%. Alright, so one last thing is we know that percent increase and decrease is change over original is percent over 100. So if it's a percent increase, we know the new number is larger. So new is going to equal to original plus change. If it's a percent decrease, the new is going to equal to original minus change. So for example, Mrs. McFadden spent $178 last week on groceries. If she reduces her costs by 15% the next week, how much will she spend? So we don't know her change in this situation. That's what we're looking for. But she reduced it by 15%, so 15 over 100, and her original cost was $178. So 100x equals 178 times 15. 5 times 8 is 40. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 4 is 39. 5 plus 3 is 8. Put a 0. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 1 is 1. 0. 9 plus 8 is 17. 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 7 is 16, 1 plus 1 is 2. So 2670. And then if you divide it by 100, it's going to be 26.70 because you move your decimal 2 places to the left. So she decreased it by 15%, which is 2670. So if it's a reduction or a decrease, to find the new, you're going to do the original minus your change. So 178 minus 2670. Make sure you line up your decimals. So it's going to come to 150, 130. Keep studying, guys. Good luck.